Hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about digital signatures. We're going to talk about how they're used, what they're good for, how they're kind of architected, and of course how they're used in blockchain. So let's get started. But before I get started, let me remind you to hit the subscribe button down below, ring the bell, and hit like button. Just so that you are notified when I release new content. Right now we're releasing content at least once a week, so remember to hit the subscribe button. So what is a digital signature? Well, a digital signature is really just a digital version of a handwritten signature. So people have been signing things for centuries, and they've been making their mark, they've been using signatures, and a signature does something that is very specific. So what a signature does is there's some goals. So there's three things that are important. The first of which is authentication. So when you sign something, your signature tells the receiver that you're the person who signed it. Then the second thing is it provides non-repudiation, which means the sender or the signer can't later on say he didn't sign it. So it's something that says, hey, this is me who signed it, and I can't go back later and say, nah, I didn't sign it, I wasn't the person who signed it. So that's non-repudiation. And then the third thing is that in a digital signature, it provides integrity. It provides proof that the message was not altered. So those are the three things that go into any signature, and so they're the three things that need to be provided through a digital signature. So we have some prerequisites for digital signatures. So I have a couple of other videos out there that you may need to see ahead of time, or you can just blast through this and then go back and watch them later. One of them is digital signatures use asymmetric encryption. So I have a video on asymmetric encryption, which is very important. Then it also uses hash functions. Okay, so asymmetric encryption and hash functions are used together to provide digital signatures. So one other prerequisite that we have, this is specifically for blockchain, permission-based blockchain, is that you need a certificate to prove that the sender is authentic. Inside blockchain, the transactions are anonymous. So my private key and my public key, which is what I share with somebody when I'm asking them to send me Bitcoin, I don't have to prove who I am. So certificates are used to prove that the public key is owned by the person who says they own the public key. So that's one other prerequisite. So again, I have a video on certificates to help you understand how certificates are used in this whole process. So let's look at the process flow for signing a document that I'm going to send electronically. I'm going to sign digitally. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this document that I'm going to send and I'm going to hash it using a hash function. What that's going to create is that's going to create a 32-byte signature or fingerprint of the document. So I get that fingerprint of the document. Then second, I'm going to take my private key and I'm going to encrypt that hash. Now remember from asymmetric encryption, if I encrypt it with my private key, then it's decrypted with my public key. Now my public key is the key that I can share with anybody. So by doing this, I'm basically proving that I signed the document because only my public key will decrypt the encryption of this hash. So I've hashed the document. Now I've encrypted it with my private key. So now I take that encrypted data and I append it to the document that I want to send. So I send the document in an unencrypted format plus my signature, which was the hash that was encrypted with my private key. So now I send that to the recipient. So now the recipient has to go through the process of determining whether or not my signature was valid. Now their step one is to take that signature and separate it from the document. Okay, and then they use my public key to decrypt that signature that I sent. So once that is decrypted, that should be the hash of the document. So now the recipient takes the document, hashes the document using, let's say, SHA-256 or whatever hash function was used. And now, as step 4, that decrypted hash that was from my signature is compared to the calculated hash from the hash function, and those two things need to match for my signature to be valid. So that's really the process of going through and signing something using a hash function and asymmetric encryption. So now, why is this important in blockchain? Well, in blockchain, every transaction is signed. So if I am sending Bitcoin to someone else, I am using my private key to validate that I'm the owner of the transaction. And then when I send it to the recipient, I'm using their public key and my private key to sign the document or sign the transaction so that we can see that the transfer went from me to the person receiving my blockchain, my Bitcoin. So this concept of digital signatures is actually critical to the blockchain. It's critical to the blockchain in two different ways. In one way, it's part of the core blockchain. Digital signatures are part of the blockchain. Another part is that digital signatures and management of documents on the blockchain is a critical use case for the blockchain. So not only does digital signatures become important in the core blockchain technologies, it's also important in one of the primary use cases for the blockchain. One of the important things in a public blockchain is that the transactions are anonymous. So I'm able to use my private key, which is kept private, and then the recipient's public key, which is their address, to sign transactions. It's important to know here that these are anonymous transactions. But in business blockchain transactions, the parties are not anonymous. And part of the parties not being anonymous is you need to verify that the public key that's being used is actually the valid public key of the person who says they are. And that's why certificates are so important in business blockchain. So I hope you found this valuable, this use of digital signatures. Digital signatures are an important concept in blockchain. It's an important concept in both blockchain use cases and in blockchain core technologies. So until next time, I'll see you again soon.